my name is Holly, aka Scorn the Barber, and welcome back. I'm here with my mentor, Roger LaVisca. His Instagram is Roger That LaVisca. Y'all need to follow him. Like all his stuff, this man just speaks truth. I've known Roger since hair school, which was, I think we're going on 9 years now, which is crazy. It doesn't feel that long. Makes you feel old, doesn't it?
It makes you feel old. Full circle. Yeah.
So when I met Roger, it was in hair school, and I thought he was a load of shit.
Say it.
And he worked for L'Oreal, and he would come in and speak to us, mentor us, tell us about what he sold. And I was just like, yeah, this guy's just like trying to sell L'Oreal. But little did I know, he didn't make anything for doing that. He just really, truly cares. And I think a couple of years into it, I saw other girls that were like mentoring with him and saw their improvement and started watching his videos. And I was like, oh, like, I'm tired of not making any money. I'm tired of feeling like crap. I'm going to talk to Roger. And the day I talked to Roger, my world changed completely. And it was a total mindset thing. But I want Roger to kind of tell a little bit about himself, his history with how he got into the hair world, even though he doesn't do hair, and how the hair world just keeps calling him back. Crazy. He's the mentor of the hair world. If you ask anyone in the North Georgia, Chattanooga, maybe even almost Alabama area, they can tell you who Roger LaVisca is. But yeah, give us a little, are you from the area? Like, give us the downplay.
Very humbling. But I moved here in 1985. I was prior military. I graduated from school here in Chattanooga.
I didn't know you were military.
I was prior military. I was Desert Storm veteran, and I did 8 years. Huh. I did 5 years active and 4 in the Guard. 3 in the Guard, excuse me. I did 8 years. I was working at a carpet mill in Dalton. One of the guys that I was buddy with, he quit and was in a hair salon in Ringgold. And he was there when the sales rep walked in, and they said that they were in need of a regional manager. So he applied, and he got the job, and he called me about 3 weeks later and said that they were about to, or maybe it was about 3 months later, that they were about to let the person go, because back when I started, we didn't even have cell phones. So people were calling in orders on payphones or email or faxing them in, and said that she was not going around, because we used to have to collect money from people with checks or cash and turn them into money orders. And she wasn't collecting funds, so that people were getting behind because she was trying to go to Nashville and get a music career.
Yeah.
So they let her go. I went and interviewed, got hired, left the carpet mill, thank God. And I think it was just a total God thing for me, because it fell into place, and I really didn't know what my calling was at the time. And I did just right. I was 42 days away from 20 years. And I just recently, I'm not with L'Oreal anymore. And but during that time, I was married, and my ex was also a hairdresser. So I have 20 years of experience being married to a hairdresser. My wife now, we've been this October will be 5 years we've been married, and she's a hairdresser. Been doing hair for 26 years.
And I forgot to say this at the beginning. We're at her salon.
We are at the salon
that they both renovated together, just themselves, and it's Salon 112.
It's in Fordo.
Yes, and he's married to an amazing woman.
She's great.
I love her.
She's precious. And she's, other than the good Lord, she's the reason that I do what I do every single day. Mm-hmm. I mean, she motivates me to try to be a better person and a better human every day. But I love seeing, and like I said, we were talking a minute ago about Ashley, that you did your previous YouTube video. Mm-hmm. And I was at her salon today and mentioned to Ashley that, just something clicks, and everything that you're doing, and it finally clicks mm-hmm. on your purpose on why you're doing this. And I think that's, for me, I was about 2 years in, and I didn't understand the industry. I didn't understand shampoo. My hair has always been short. I didn't understand that men use shampoo also, mm-hmm. or even products. Mm-hmm. I hate to say beauty products, but just things in their face. So about 2 years in, I realized it wasn't about shampoo. It was about the relationships, and it was about the mentoring and the coaching. Absolutely. And I think what hairdressers do so much behind the chair is, I talk about self-worth a lot. And when I was in the school, I usually didn't talk about products. I talked about self-worth. I talked about growing yourself and making money. And I would tell the stylists, I mean, the students in school, that you can make six figures in 3 years if you hustle and you like put the time in. But it's possible now with Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and Snapchat and all these other free
Yeah.
platforms that people have to do it. And I've, I love everything about this industry. And I, I tell people all the time that I think God empowered me to help women to never to rely on anyone else for anything. And coming from a
Absolutely.
man, it's kind of like an
Hmm.
oxymoron, but I just think that's my purpose, is to empower women to, they give so much away behind the chair, they forget to bring some of it home sometimes.
Hmm.
And because there's a lot of customers that like to take,
Yeah.
and we have to get to a point where we don't let them take it all, and we bring something home to the family and to the
Hmm.
kids and pets or whatever we have at home. So I mean, that's kind of my story in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's right at 20 years I've been doing this and looking into starting a consulting firm to do this kind of thing on a regular basis. And I'm really not even looking for a job at the moment. I mean, I've been off for about a month and been trying to get things done here and things at the
Yeah.
house, and but it's been good. It's
Because
been a
your
good one.
wife's a baller.
My wife she's a boss.
His wife is such a hardworking woman. This girl
She's great.
always works.
She's great.
Um, and you are too. And I think that's what
Yeah,
makes you guys such a great combo.
100%.
Like, what a power couple.
100%. She's a grinder, and I think one of the biggest things is she works 7, 8, 9 o'clock some nights. And I always tell people it's not fair for her to come home and go, "Hey, what's for dinner?" So I always like to have dinner ready when she gets home, a glass of wine, something like that. So
Ooh.
I don't run her bath because she does that her own special
Yeah.
way, but just to do those kind of things because I know how physically
Yeah.
demanding it is and mentally and emotionally draining it is to stand behind that chair all day.
Oh, absolutely.
I
My
couldn't do
husband's behind the camera filming, and I
it.
hope that he heard that. I would love to have dinner waiting for me after work. He's just nodding his
He's
head.
yes, dear. Just say yes,
He's
dear.
like,
Yes, dear.
Roger, I'm going to need you to shut up,
Devin,
please.
my fault. My fault, brother.
I'm going to expect dinner waiting for me.
Glass
My
of
baby
wine.
already in bed. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Yes.
Okay, Roger.
Yes. My
Roger's
fault.
going to start a class for all hairstylists.
Husbands or
Husbands.
spouses. Yes. Spouses or husbands. Now I deal with some hairdressers that are men also, and I mean I know I got one guy in Cartersville. His wife's a school teacher, so she's
Yeah.
off at probably 4 or 5 o'clock every day.
Yeah.
So I mean I get it. The dynamic's different for every relationship.
Oh, yeah. But it is, like you said, like, I was talking to my business partner the other day, and and he was talking about it's so hard to, like, after you finish that last client, when you sit down to get back up and clean. And I said, yeah, I cannot sit down. As soon as your last client is over, just start cleaning.
You ready to get out the
Just
door?
don't stop the momentum. And then when you're done, you can sit down. You know, we serve whiskey at our shop, so we'll have either like a glass of wine or champagne.
Sure.
Sit, we kind of talk, and then we leave. But if you sit down, we're done. It's
over.
exhausting.
It's over.
It's exhausting, and
Yeah.
it's hard on the body, but man, it's such a rewarding job. And one thing that, you know, you touched on that is so important, and you preach this to everyone, is work balance.
It's hard
And
to
you've even had to talk to my husband and explain to him about like what you have to do with Susan. It's like when I get home, I would get so frustrated because Devin would be like, "Oh, how was your day? What is this like? Yo, you want to go here? Can we go now? Can we go?" And it's like I've given my all day, and I'm very much a people person. I can talk all day, but it's like I need at least 30 minutes to calm down before I can even talk to him and process what happened today, because people are telling me like some hard things. They're telling me good things, but it's just so much information that you just got to let go. And I need 30 minutes at home to just like, and
decompress.
yes.
Yeah.
And Roger, like, I think you called him or met with him, and I asked you to say something, and
Oh,
you're
I
like,
remember. I think I talked to him on the phone.
yeah, he's like, dude, I have to give Susan like 30 minutes. I have to let her like just breathe, because she gives it her all, and then, you know, then she'll come back and she'll talk to me. I'm like, yes, Roger, tell him, please.
I think what happened is because when we had that conversation,
Yes.
I went home one day and she came home and I started just kind of basically throwing up on her. I'm like, oh my God, let me tell you what happened. I went to the school and I talked to these students and she's just like, do you ever shut up? And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my God, wait a minute. You know, it kind of hurt.
Yeah.
And she's like, just give me 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And I didn't get it and I didn't understand.
Mhm.
So I've had conversations with a lot of stylists and I ask them, when you leave the shop on your way home, whether it's 5 minutes or 30 minutes, what's the first thing you do? And they say, turn the radio off. They want to sit in silence for just a minute.
Yes.
And I didn't realize that because me, I'm always listening to music and I'm just kind of always happy go lucky. And I tell people I can relate to stylists because it's like chasing chickens up here.
Yeah.
There's always something and it's hard to click it and make it turn off. And the hairdresser's mind is just like that. There's always something. It's that
We're all
ADHD a little bit.
ADHD. I think that's what makes us awesome is we can multitask and do
Yeah.
it all. But that is so crazy because when I was talking with Ashley last week, and even Justin, I talked to everyone who does hair lately, and that's been like the main topic that we've talked about in the shop. We're like, what do you listen to when you go home? And all of us at the shop that work there, we said, we don't.
Silence. Yeah.
And I'm like, I love it. Like on the way to work, I listen to like uplifting things like YouTube. I'll put YouTube on. I
Sure.
don't watch it while I drive, but I have it playing of other barbers that I look up to, or I'll have a podcast on because I'm ready to be like mentally fueled. But by the end of the day, I'm ready to just like give my mind a rest.
Well, and I think that's one of the things I talk about. And I have a picture,
Mhm.
like a gallon pitcher in my car. And I was explaining this to Ashley today, as a matter of fact, that I've taken some spray paint along the bottom.
Mhm.
And what I've done is, that's my love tank, if you will. Every day I'm full. And I'm choosing to give it away to all my stylists, if you will, if you like you being a hairdresser. I'm giving it away to everybody that sits in my chair.
Mhm.
So when I go home, if there's nothing left for me to bring home, that kind of falls on you too. So it's different because you're like, I need him to kind of give me some space, but at the same time, you need to have this situation where I take something home. Because when the baby gets older and you're like, oh my God, I don't even want to talk to the baby, there's like a disconnect. Because I think what stylists don't realize is that you give it all. You have to give it your all day long. But your all, instead of it being all of this, 100%, you got to save maybe 20% to bring home. So all day you're only going to give 80, but that's still the 100% you get to give at work because you have to take something home. And if that takes you 30 minutes to recharge so your tank is full enough to get through the evening, I think that's what people don't realize is they go home and there's nothing left. They're just empty inside because they've given it all away. And I think that's something that people, stylists especially, because it's such a demanding, we're servants, we want to give. Even though I'm not a licensed hairdresser, I've been in this industry for 20 plus years.
Oh, you know it.
Like the back of my hand.
Yeah.
And I see it every day and I counsel and I mentor a lot of people and they tell me the same things. And hearing it from somebody on the outside, they're like, oh, he don't know what he's talking about. But yeah, I really do. And you need to try to balance it's that work-life balance thing we talked about. You need to try to make sure that you bring a little bit home. And even if it's just a little bit, just so like when you do go home, and if he decides that he wants to talk to you or basically throw up all his information that he's done all day long, he wants to share and he wants to spend time.
Yeah. But also too, like you going back to when I met you, it was right before the world shut down. It was February 2020. I still have a screenshot of the paper, a picture of the paper I took a picture of that, he doodles when he meets with you. He draws pictures, he writes things, and then he turns the paper around, pushes it towards you, and points things out. Like, he knows how to talk to us. We're ADHD. We need pictures. We need a plan. We need visual, or we're not paying attention. This man gets it. But I took a picture of this paper, and ever so often, it'll show up in my memories. And, I send it to him or I post it on Facebook. But there's a picture of like balance, like he's talking about balance on there. And like also, because at that time I just felt like, I wasn't doing anything for me. It was work, 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 work. And that's like what a lot of previous bosses I had engraved in me. Like I had to earn my time off. And that's not true. Leave if you don't get a break. I went 5 years without a vacation. Yeah. I wasn't allowed to have a vacation. And you need that. Because if you don't feed yourself and if you're not able to take something home at the end of the day, you're not going to have anything to give in the shop. Like if you're not fed, it's kind of like a relationship. If you are not fed and you don't love yourself, you will not be a good employee. You will not be a good boss. You will not be a good owner. You will not be a good wife or husband.
A good human.
A good friend, a human. Yeah. And this man preaches that. So, like, when it's my off time, I don't answer the phone.
Got to disconnect.
Yeah, I answer the phone starting probably around 8 or 9. I will not do it at 6. I will not do it at 7. I will not. No. I have a certain time where I turn it on. And I had to do that.
Yeah.
And honestly, at the beginning, when I opened the shop, it was starting to cause some marriage problems because I would just bring all my stress home to my husband.
Mm-hmm.
And I would take it all out on him. And it's not worth that.
You know, when you were talking, it made me think about something that I try to, I hate to say the word preach to people, but it's something you really need to think about is because as a mentor and as a coach and as a friend for you, you're no good to me broken. You're no good to him broken. You're no good to that baby coming home and you're broken. Mm-hmm. So trying to find that work-life balance because we want to give it our all because we're trying to provide for our family. We're trying to have a better life. We're trying to do those things to make money. And it's not about the almighty dollar because you love what you do and it never feels like a job. It shouldn't feel like a job if you love what you do is what a mentor taught me. Find something you love to do for free and then find people to pay you to do it and it'll never feel like a job.
And that's so true.
And if you're doing this and it doesn't feel like a job, well, first of all, you need to get paid for your time and your expertise and that kind of thing. And that's another thing that we deal with in this industry is people not charging their worth. And when that clicks for you and you realize that your time is valuable. And I had a conversation with a lady just down the road here not too long ago. It was maybe about 6 or 8 years ago. I was talking to her and I tried to explain to her, you are not charging enough for what you do. Mm-hmm. And I explained it to her. She said, I'll go up with my prices. Well, she called me about 2 weeks later. We met for like 3 hours, mm-hmm. had a coaching session. And about 3 weeks later, she calls me in tears. And I thought, oh my gosh, is your husband okay? Are the kids okay? Because I thought someone had died. And she like ugly snot slinging cries. She said, I had a guest call me. And she said she was so happy with her hair. She was so like beside herself. She was almost crying. And I was like, well, what's the problem? And she said, do you know why I come to you? It's because you're so cheap. And she said, it crushed me. She said, we just had this conversation 3 weeks ago about me going up with my prices, and she told me I was cheap. She said, something clicked to me at that moment that my time is more valuable, and I don't want people to look at me as cheap. I don't want to discount my worth. And at that moment, she realized that she needed to start charging more for what she was doing because, you know, we joke about it now, but look at the price of eggs. Look at the price of gas. Look at the price of everything else.
Isn't eggs like $8
It's stupid. I used to buy like 60 count of eggs for like $6 and they're like $15 now.
You could buy a 12-pack of eggs like a year ago for $1.25.
Yeah. So I mean, but look at all that. I mean, when they do all of that, it's you don't question it. You need it and you buy it. Mm-hmm. Well, this, I mean, is it a nicety or is it a necessity? It's kind of a nicety to get your hair done and to get these things, but no one wants to go in looking like, you know, got 8 root rot. So it's kind of a necessity to get your hair done. You should be charging what you're worth, and I know you do. But, you know, my wife at times, she gets to the point where she's like, I need to be charging more for what I do because 26 years, how much experience and education she's got.
Absolutely.
So.
Well, here's the thing is like, you know, I was talking with my business partner too, and you're talking about prices. And, you know, we upped our prices in November. And, you know, I was talking with him again, and I was like, I feel like I need to up them again. And it's not because like, oh, I want to charge more or, oh, the economy is, I want to go to hour appointments. Like, I want to do the detailed work that I'm seeing from my mentors that are doing, but I'm looking at their books and they book an hour. I want to give top-notch service. I want to charge hourly so I can give everything that you want in that amount of service. Take off all the menu services, charge hourly, and you get what you get in that hour.
I like it.
And, you know, that's what I want to do. That's my goal. And of course, like, my goal is not to gouge them. My goal is to give you quality service and also to be able to take care of my family at the same time. And I think we get scared like, oh, people are not going to pay that. Oh, they're not going to do this. And we got to change that mindset because first of all, we are not a necessity. And I hate to say that. People do not have to get their hair done.
Sure.
People will tell you their sob stories, and I hate it. I'm a sucker. I love people, and I feel sorry for everyone. And especially if something bad's happened in their life, sure. Food's a necessity.
Shelter.
Having a roof over your head is a necessity. But you getting your color done or you getting a haircut is not a necessity.
Sure.
And it's not my emergency.
Sure.
And if you can't afford me, I can respect that. but you're not going to make me feel bad for my process.
You know, I kind of laughed when you first said it, and
Yeah.
what I thought about was, I've had this conversation with people so much that they're afraid to go up on their prices because it's the fear. And I
Mm-hmm.
tell people fear stands for false evidence appearing real.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think of fear and you finally go up in your prices, the ones that'll gripe and complain about it are the ones that are also driving away in the brand new Cadillac with a sticker in the window. I see it all the time.
Yeah.
And if they're going to gripe and complain, oh my, I can't afford this, I can't
Yeah.
afford this, and they're driving away in a brand new car.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute, you just bought a brand new car. Is that why you're telling
Yeah.
me you can't afford it? And I think that's one of the biggest things is that the sob stories, they know how to pull on your heartstrings
Uh-huh.
because we're servants and we want to give and we want to make everybody happy and we're trying to please everybody.
I'll tell you, my best clients are servers, bartenders,
Because they know the hustle.
blue collared people, business owners,
Yeah.
like the hardworking. And I'm not saying all jobs are not hardworking and all my I have great clientele, but I notice a pattern from place to place to place.
Sure.
So this isn't like, this is just what I've noticed.
Sure.
And they are just treat you well. And like you said, there are more people, even when I was in the serving industry, the people with the suits, the people with Lamborghini, all that, they leave me $5.
Mm-hmm.
Or the Christians that went to church, or, and you know, like I'm a follower of Christ when I say that, but they would leave me like a, what do you call it?
Like a pamphlet or a flyer.
Yeah, a pamphlet or flyer saying, are you going to heaven or are you going to hell? Well, I was
Right.
like, well, if I'm not a believer,
Right.
if I wasn't a believer, I definitely wouldn't be like choosing God today because, first of all, I'm mad that I have to work on a Sunday.
Right.
And you didn't tip me, so I made no money off of you. So you basically stole
Right.
at a place you knew you were supposed to tip.
Sure.
And so I remember one day getting that and chasing them out the door and saying, like, listen, I'm a Christian, but I also had to be here and I also have bills. So if you don't agree with this, you should stop coming to eat on Sundays.
Sure. Oh, wow. Turn it around.
Gave it right back to them.
No,
I said, I don't need this.
Yeah. Wow. I love it. That's tough, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, and it's something I think about too is that I think everyone should have to wait tables or be a bartender or serve in some sort of aspect, just because to really see what people have to go through, to have to deal with customers who are rude and things like that. And it probably even happens in the salon too, where you have customers. Well, my wife was telling me a story just today that she was like, "Oh, I need this person in, and I need to get my son. I need to get my son." And I'm like, "Okay, I can get him in like it was maybe a week or two." And she was like, "Oh no, he's got to get in like tomorrow." And I'm like, "That's not how this works."
Yeah.
I mean, she's 26 years. I mean, her next opening is like in February. And so she's supposed to like stay till 8 or 9 o'clock just to make sure that you get your appointment.
No.
That's the work-life balance thing. And you have to have rules, boundaries, limitations of these are my boundaries and these are my hours I'm going to work and I'm going to stick to that.
I think my husband gives me like great, he's so wise, and I hate saying this because I know I'm making his head big, but he has helped me so much grow, and like you should have a partner like that. But he says, your emergency is not my emergency.
Oh no, I think I've heard it's your lack of planning doesn't constitute my emergency. So yeah, same thing.
Yeah. And
yeah.
He said that, and like after hearing that, I'm like,
click.
Oh, yeah. Like I don't know why it took just hearing that to like make my mind change, because I think we are such servers in this industry that we love to serve people, we love to make people happy, that we will bow down to any sob story, to anyone that's like, oh, I forgot to make an appointment, but can you come in an hour early and do my hair? I have this big event. No. My mental health, no, I could, but I like to go to the gym in the morning because I need that for me. I need to mentally sweat. I need to mentally get ready for the day. And if I can't do my routine, I'm way thrown off. And so him telling me that just helped me tremendously in setting boundaries, like you said. And there's another thing too, like when you meet with people for the first time, how do you go about like getting to know them? How do you go about trying to help them what's your secret to helping them grow as a
Oh,
person?
that's a great question.
Yeah.
And that's something we didn't talk about. It's a really good
Hmm.
question. So I still speak to the students at schools. I go to the schools and speak
Hmm.
to them, and I don't charge them to do that.
Yeah.
And that's part of the whole consulting thing I'm looking into doing. I send them 5 things that I need from them before I'll ever meet with them, because I realize if I tell them, hey, let's go meet and have coffee, and then we just kind of talk and, okay, why are we here? It wasn't really a purpose on why we're here. So what I'll do is I'll say, if they message me on Messenger or Instagram or something, I'm like, here's my cell number. I'm going to need you to text me back with your first and last name so I can save you in my phone. And then I'm going to send you homework. Are you willing to do homework? And they'll go, immediately. Yeah, I'll do whatever. So I send them mental, spiritual, physical, emotional, financial. Where do you see yourself in these 5 categories today?
Mm.
Where do you see, and on a separate sheet of paper or however many pages you need, on a different sheet, I need you to give me, where do you see yourself mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally, financially in 6 months? That's where I need to, because what that does is it gives me this like litmus test of where their mindset is now and where, if they can visualize where they see themselves in 6 months. Because for me, I'm a very visual, I sit in silence every morning, I affirmate, I visualize, I exercise, I read, and I scribe, and I pray, and I do all these things for myself first thing in the morning.
Hmm.
I try to do them every single day. Am I religious at it? 100% now.
Yeah.
Maybe about 80, 85% of the time I'll get up every day and do it. So I have my me time so I can deposit into others when I do that. So
Absolutely.
I explain that to them that you have to make me time and you have to love yourself more than anything else except for your higher power, whatever that looks like for you. Because you can't love your spouse and you can't love your
Hmm.
kids if you're not in love with yourself.
That's
You, you,
100%
you,
true.
you are not a mistake. You're here for a purpose, and if it's this, to change people's lives by spinning them around in the mirror, and they go and they catch their breath because they
Mm.
feel pretty again, or they feel good looking or handsome or whatever that word is that they feel, you did that to them, and
Yeah.
you empowered them to make a difference.
Yeah.
So
Also, too, like I wanted him to talk about, because I didn't know the power of this, and I think it was him, my friend Amanda, that was living in California at the time, who was killing it, um, and still is killing it. But she sent me this video of Steve Harvey, and
love
like
Steve
you can
Harvey.
make fun of me if you want, but Steve
No,
Harvey
love Steve
speaks
Harvey.
truth. And it was a video, and he said the power of writing things down and the power of telling God your wants. And he said, you're not going to get it. He's not going to just give it to you.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to pray. You've got to work. You've got to sweat. But the power of writing things down stimulates something in your mind to make you do it and speaking it into existence. And you are huge on that.
Big.
You're like, I think, I started writing things down in 2020, but this is the first year that I've actually made a vision board.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I had the
Good
vision
for
board
you.
party.
Yeah.
And I was like, Roger's been telling me forever to make a vision board.
That's
I've
awesome.
always wrote things down and
Yeah.
always said, hey, I'm going to do this. And I usually end up doing it.
Right.
But I was like, okay, I'm going to see what a vision board does.
And what's funny is because I've been thinking about you and Devin lately, and how fierce you are that when you put something into motion, you make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
So when you told me that you were doing this vision board thing, and I'm like, I'm just going to get out of sister's way because she's going to slay this. And what's funny is so August of 2019,
Mm-hmm.
they picked several of us to go to Nebraska for 7 days. It was called Acceleration. And there were 750 plus reps. They took, I think, 24 of us. And we're there, and one of the days we're there, they made us go through this huge stack of magazines and make a vision board. Well, I'd always kind of done it, but I'd kind of halfway done it. Well, I have this piece of cardboard, and it's out in my car, and I take it to all my students and I show it to them. At the top, it said $1 million, and it said 100% debt free, and it had pictures of vacations and Guy Fieri because my wife and I are foodies. We like trying new restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
I had a blue suit because I look good in blue, and I thought, I had all these things on this vision board. And August of 2019. I think I finished at 890,000 in sales.
Mm-hmm.
May of 2020, COVID.
Mm-hmm.
We were shut down for 3 weeks. I worked the next 6 weeks at a store in Rome, which is about an hour south of where I live. I drove every day.
Yeah.
For 6 weeks. Not only did I surpass the $1 million, I finished at $1.125 million in sales. That's a lot of shampoo. And I did that, and I put everything I have into, first of all, God, and I put it into me having a vision board of what I was trying to accomplish. So we talked about vision boards. Everything I did on my vision board has come to pass.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I felt like I really needed to talk about me, because it's my journey and things that I've gone through in life. And I deal with people all the time that maybe don't feel balanced, or they have anxiety, or they're confused on where they're trying to go in life. So when you ask me, what is it you ask these people to get them into the mindset of the right thing? So one of the first things I ask them is, are you a spiritual person? Do you believe in God, or do you believe in a higher power? If they say yes, then great. I can help them find inner peace a whole lot faster than someone who says no, because if they don't have that personal relationship with God, if you will, then it's harder for me to have an intimate conversation about God. So I don't ever push that on people. I don't ever want them to believe like I do if they don't feel comfortable doing that. But if they tell me they do believe, whether they go to church or not, I don't think you have to go to church. This goes along with the 5 people you hang around the most is who you become. When you go to church and you leave, you feel like you can conquer the world. It's because of the energy in the room.
Yeah.
It's no different than if you're going out with friends and you go out and you start having a drink and you maybe have 1 or 2, but the next thing you know, they have 6 or 8 and you're having 6 or 8 and you never have 6 or 8. That environment's always stronger than you.
Yeah.
So if you put yourself in a church environment or in a small group, and that environment is where you're trying to grow and be a better human, I highly recommend people do that. I'm not telling you have to, but just to be nice to people. I think spiritually, and one of the big things I talk about the most is when I say God's jealous, He wants 10% of what we do every day, and that's tithe and time. I don't think people realize that. They hear people churches talk about tithe, but they never talk about time. There's 1,440 minutes in a day. He's asking for 2 hours and 40 minutes. And something you and I just talked about a second ago was, if you and I are in a relationship and we're talking and we only spend 5 minutes a day, what does that relationship look like? It's not very intimate. It's not very conversation. We don't really know anything about each other. But if you and I are spending 2 hours and 20 minutes a day of intimate conversation and life and stuff, that's going to flourish and grow. And we're going to have this relationship that's going to, couples, God, everybody, we need to have that relationship with people where you're growing. Because if I don't have that intimate time with my higher power, so to speak, I'm confused. I have anxiety. And I know there's things where people have chemical imbalances or hormones or whatever it is, and they have anxiety and they can't deal with it. And I get that. I'm not saying it's not a thing. I'm just saying I know where I find my peace.
Absolutely. But you're talking about like if you're religious or if you're not, but I definitely think for you to be a successful human being, you have to believe in a higher power. And I do believe in God, and I do believe that He is our true Father. But I do believe that you have to believe in something. You have to have some sort of faith to believe that you can conquer a goal. And there are some people who don't believe in anything, and they still are empowering people, and I'm not giving them credit because of what I'm saying, but I do believe that you have to be kind of a corny person. Like, you have to be that person that makes vision boards. You have to be a dreamer. You have to say, like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this. And, people are going to make fun of you, too. Like, I had someone in the shop the other day, and they're like, you're going to have a vision board party? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to have a vision board party. It's going to be awesome. We're going to get crafty up in here. And they're like, that's really silly. And I'm like, you know what? In my head, I was thinking, you know what? You're going to think it's really silly when I'm driving my G-Wagon and I'm waving at you. Like,
I love it. No, that's...
Exactly.
I can speak from experience of what vision boards have done for me. And I swear by it. And I look at it every day. I bring them to the schools and I show them on the board everything that I put on there pretty much came to pass. And it's just crazy how you can look at it and see how things just manifest. And you get it out of this because this is such a train wreck that you visualize what it is you're trying to accomplish, and it just happens.
Well, it happened with me when I met with you. If you don't remember, we met at the Starbucks inside Books and Nova. I remember which...
Was it at the mall?
Yeah, I remember which table we sat at.
It was up on the top.
Yeah.
Next to the... God almighty.
And I told you my goals, and I said...
That's funny.
I wanted to do bodybuilding.
Yeah.
And I did it. The world shut down. I never got to do a show, but
sure.
I did it. And I did really good. I almost modeled for Monster.
Yeah.
That was a big deal. And I said I wanted to live in Chattanooga. I wanted a family. And by golly, be careful what you say, because I got all of those things.
Yeah.
got engaged that December of 2020. Even when the world was shutting down, make the best money of my life that year.
Mm-hmm.
Put back a ton of savings. I don't know how. And I would not take no for an answer. And then with that mindset, I found an amazing partner who had the same mindset. And just have not stopped since.
Like I said a minute ago,
It
when
was
you
like a
put your mind
switch.
to it, something. This doesn't even surprise me that you're doing this, because you said I'm going to start a YouTube channel. I was like, I can't wait. I can't wait.
Yeah.
I'm not even surprised at how global this is going to go for you. It
I'm
wouldn't
excited.
surprise me a bit. You know, if I can think of maybe one or two things that I could tell anybody out there to, whether you're a hairdresser or not, you got to love yourself more than basically anything else. And you have to be able to say no to people. And you have to be able to say no without an explanation.
Yeah.
I don't have to explain myself to you. Roger, do you want to come to this event? No. Well, why not? No, I shouldn't have to explain myself. No just means I don't want to go. Doesn't mean I don't like you. It doesn't mean I just don't have to say, I don't have to explain myself.
Yeah.
And that's so hard for people in this industry, because we feel like we're telling them no. We feel like we're not serving and we're not doing ourselves an injustice, and have rules and boundaries and limitations.
Absolutely.
That's so key in this industry, and to never move them for anything or anyone, and to be set on your standards on what's acceptable and what's not.
Absolutely.
And to be able to charge your worth and know what your worth is.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. You're right on all those things. I'm super excited. I think after, I think I messaged you and I said, I want to teach. I remember that. I was at the gym, because when I'm at the gym and I'm on that stair stepper, that's when I check my emails. That's when I'm doing social media, because I love it. It's like my brain is focused in. And that's when I'm working and my brain is storming, when I'm sweating and I'm like, okay, I'm going to get that booty looking good. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to teach a class. I'm going to message Roger. He's going to get me to teach a class. And he's like, okay, sister, when do you want to do it? And I think it was Georgia Northwestern. And God, those girls were like just so inspiring. Like, we were not that motivated in hair school that I can remember, and that far advanced. Like, those girls, like, looking at their work, they post all this work, and I'm like,
yep.
They're in hair school. Like, yep. I didn't do that the first 5 years I was doing hair. Like, their balayage, their highlights, they're just clean. They're pretty. Their styling is good. And, we have the most amazing instructors. They've been there for years. Like, they know everybody. Yeah. But they can't do everything. And these girls, you can tell that they've gone home. They've turned on YouTube, because we didn't have YouTube.
Sure. No.
I mean, it was just starting, but they're going home, and you can tell that they're doing the extra work, and they're already marketing themselves. And like, be ready, because we've got some good students that are
I'm going to break on you for just a second, because when you did the class with your business partner, I was so impressed, and you handled it like a champ, and you didn't look nervous. You were a little bit at first, but once you taught for a few minutes, you look like a pro, like you've been doing it for years. Very, very proud of you for what you've done, and I'm looking forward to getting you in front of more people and seeing how that goes for you, and teaching these students what it really is to, coming from your mouth. It's different than coming from mine, because I don't stand behind the chair.
We should do more classes together, Roger. I told you I'm ready. Take me to Calhoun. Let's go.
It's a phone call away.
Yes.
I got like 9 schools I can call at any minute.
Let's go. I'm ready. I'm ready to change this industry. I'm ready to help these hair babies not have to go through. This is what I call them. I call them hair babies. If they're fresh out of school, I think they're fresh, they're young, they're innocent, they're ready, they're excited. That's the way my child is when I come home. He's like, and I love that. We have a barber right now that's just 9 months out of like hair school. And let me tell you, he is so damn good. Killing it. His consultation, his professionalism, his haircuts, they're clean. And boy, he has inspired all of us.
Step your game up a little bit.
Yes, I love hair babies.
That's fine.
And we have got to stop bullying them. We have got to stop making them salon bitches. I mean, just stop. Encourage them. If you see something that they did, say, oh my gosh, that looks so good.
Sure.
See the potential. See the growth. I mean, just stop. Like, we've got to water them because we were watered.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody, and you talk to anyone in this industry, everyone has a mentor of some sort that has brought them up.
Well, and something you said a minute ago is somebody kind of made fun of you having a vision board party.
Yeah.
But those are the kind of people that I don't want to say you don't want to invite. Those are the kind of ones that don't get it, and they might one day. But the ones that are getting it and that are where they want to be,
Mhm.
they're hanging around those kind of people that are going to say, "This is what you need to
Yeah.
do to be successful." And people will still think you're crazy. They'll think you have three
Yeah.
eyeballs and not going to listen to you.
Yeah.
You just
My
have to do it.
circle is so small.
Absolutely.
It's so small, and I do not have time for negativity. I have a family, and who I put my time and energy to
It's
is
crucial.
important to me.
Yeah, it's crucial.
And if you waste it with negativity, I love you from a distance, but you're not
dismissed.
allowed in my life because I don't have time. Now, I am there for you if you're going through a hard time.
Sure.
But you have to be open and you have to be able to listen. There's a difference. But I will leave you in the dust if you start to bring me down because you're not worth it.
Yeah.
I love myself enough to where I'm not going down there with you. And I think you have taught me that. I think, we have a mutual friend, Andy,
Mm-hmm.
and, like, he's a huge inspiration. And watching them as a married couple and how they,
Interact with their
yeah,
kids
interact
and,
with each other and
life, yeah.
how they do life together. And, those are the type people I want in my life. And those are the type people I look up to. I want people that have good relationships. Like you and Susan have a great, healthy relationship. And, Devin and I look up to you. These are the type people I want around me because if you don't, your marriage is not going to succeed.
When is the last time you've ever heard him say anything derogatory to you or about anybody else?
Who?
Andy.
No,
That's
never.
what I'm saying. I mean, those are the kind of people that they might have some kind of bad, I guess, taste in their mouth towards certain people, but you just have to really look at the people you hang around the most. Because if they're going to say anything derogatory, they're probably going to be talking about you behind your back, and you just don't know it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I'm just so grateful for
They're
you,
good people.
like taking the time to meet with me on a late night, and for also your wife for allowing us to film here and her hanging out after slaying hair all day.
All day.
All day. I think
All
when we
day.
got here, it was almost, it was like a little
7-ish?
past 7,
Yeah.
and she was working, happy, energetic, giving it her all. And,
She did want to see the baby.
yes.
She wanted to see
And
you
you probably
guys.
heard my baby cooing a little bit.
She wanted to spend some time with the baby.
But yeah, I'm a mom, and this is life, and this is called multitasking.
Yeah.
And, sometimes I have to bring them along, but, I think it's good for a child to see their parents
He's a
work
good
hard.
baby, too.
Yeah, and she was grateful. I mean, I was grateful.
She was gracious. And
Yes,
took the baby back
gracious.
there. Yeah.
Thank you. She was
Yeah.
gracious enough to take my baby to the back so I could do this interview.
And
But
she loves that stuff.
yeah.
She loves kids.
yeah, it takes a community, it takes a circle, it takes working together to be successful in this industry. And they are in my circle with many other salons that I talk to and I get advice from. We collaborate, we get ideas from each other, and that's what we need to start doing. So just make sure that you follow him. It's Roger that LaVisca
Correct.
on Instagram. You can message him, he'll message you back.
100%.
But you have to be ready. Do not waste this man's time. Please.
Yeah.
He will meet with you. He will help you. He will be your friend. And he truly does care. Make
100%.
sure that you like, subscribe, comment. It may take me a little bit to get to your comments, but I will comment back. If
Share
you
it.
have any,
Share it.
If
Share
you
it.
have any questions, want to talk, like I'm open. I want to help. This is why I'm doing this. And thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next Wednesday. Bye.